that's really great about this event is you get to essentially peek into the future. Like, so on Shark Tank, you see these people pitching these ideas, and you always wonder, do they ever go anywhere? Are they successful? Like, I wish I could fast forward 5 years, 10 years to see where they are. Well, you see where one former Invention of the Year award winner is. He's now president of our university. You heard about a couple recent examples. The Arti $20 million award to Bing over there. He's trying to act all modest, but yeah, he's got the 20 million. MedCura. So we're going to actually hear a little bit more from MedCura. I don't want to give away too much because I know they'll get through some of this, but they were hatched in a research lab across the street. They now house in Discovery District. You're going to hear from one of the founders, Srinivasa Raghavan. I'll just mention that another co-founder, he was a PhD student at the time, Matt Dowling. He's got a really good jump shot. He looks like Steve Nash. I played basketball with him. He's as good an entrepreneur as he is a basketball player, and that's saying a lot. So, all right, we're set up. Are these in the right places? You guys are good for? All right, great. So I'd love to introduce our panel here. We've got our Executive Director of the University of Maryland Ventures, Ventures, Ken Porter, Dr. Ken Porter. He's going to facilitate the discussion. And we've got Professor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, Dr. Srinivasa Raghavan. And lastly, TEDCO's Executive Director of the Maryland Innovation Initiative, Dr. Arti Santhanam. So let's give a round of applause to our 3 fireside chat folks.
This work? Okay, who's coming on first? There you go. Okay, this is a huge crowd on a rainy day. Thank you all for coming. What a wonderful day today. We are celebrating the innovations and entrepreneurship that happens every day on this campus. And I'm so happy to bring the MII team and the TEDCO team to your campus. And along with our MII and TEDCO team is an entrepreneur ecosystem that's also arrived to your campus today. So after we do our awards program, please stay around, mingle, and network. That is the purpose of why TEDCO collaborated with the university to bring this event to you, because we want more collisions between faculty innovators and serial entrepreneurs. That's what's going to create the companies and ventures in the ecosystem. And frankly, after the COVID shutdown that we were all in, I think this is the way to go about trying to get everybody out and about talking about the science that happens in the labs and how to bring it to the commercial space. And that's our mission at MII. Maryland Innovation Initiative was created in 2012, and our mission is to accelerate and support innovations from the research universities in Maryland, and now 2 of the comprehensive universities as well, Bowie State and Frostburg, and bring those innovations to the market through supporting entrepreneurship and venture creation, and doing the first investment that goes into these ventures. I know, Dr. Pines, you mentioned all these companies. Other than IonQ, every one of those was an MII project and company, and we helped create that. IonQ, I don't know how we missed it, but we'll catch them on the other end, I think. So my name is Arti Santhanam. I haven't introduced myself, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Arti Santhanam. I'm the executive director of the MII program. I have a couple of board members here, and one of the board members here with me is Ken Porter. He is your director of Ventures College Park, and I'm going to ask Ken to introduce himself, talk a little bit about what your office does, and how you help the faculty and students in the university.
Great, thanks, Arti. And I'm glad you started off your talk welcoming everyone. There are folks here from all over, and I have the privilege today of reading a lot of names to you. And I would like for you to consider that an icebreaker and an opportunity to go up and meet people that you don't know already. And people here from all over. Josh is here from Los Angeles. Don is here from Colorado and from all over the country, and take the opportunity here to meet some folks that you don't know. But as far as what we offer, it starts with people also, and the support that we provide comes through our people. Ala McCoy is our director of startup services, and she leads the team. Ala.
Ala, wave.
Wave.
There you go.
She leads a team of entrepreneurs in residence and site miners that support startups in the formation stage and also through their early development. And the site miners, and that's something unique about the MII program, is that they not only provide money, but they provide people support. So our site miners help the faculty prepare their applications. And the MII program is unique in a couple of other ways. So it's kind of like a pre-SBIR. It has 2 stages. But unlike SBIRs, it has a 50% success rate. And it's also offered their request for application 6 times a year. And so they're immediate, they're short-term, they're high success rate, and we have people here to help you. And so outside of MII, the things that we provide are other avenues to funding, the startup mentors, the site miners. We also have entrepreneurs in residence who are serial entrepreneurs that provide early-stage advice to entrepreneurs and to the companies. We have business skills workshops that Ala arranges on things like finance and marketing, and you can attend those workshops as they're happening, or you can watch them on our YouTube channel. And so take a look at our, how many views do we have, Ala? A lot. It's in the thousands on our YouTube channels. We also will help you find an entrepreneur, a business lead search for a technology-driven company. Of course, our office does IP assessment and patent protection, and also there's startup space on campus, and we can help connect you with those people. As far as the funding sources, we have I-Corps, UMD, and NSF I-Corps, and Dan Kunitz is here. Dan can help you with that. Of course, we have MII, and there are lots of people here that can help you with that. Maryland Industrial Partnerships, which is a funding program for companies to do sponsored research on campus. And Joe Naft and Ronnie Gist may be here. They're registered. Joe and Ronnie? Anyway, Joe Naft and Ronnie Gist are who you want to talk to. They have the Discovery Fund and the Terrapin Fund, and Stan Smith is here, I know. Where's Stan?
There.
And we have the Maryland Momentum Fund as well, Dingman Angels. And so a quick look at some of the success that or the status of our companies. Ala does an annual survey of the companies. So in all of our existence, we've created 120 companies. 46 are still operating. And Ala sends a survey to those 46 companies, and 30 responded for 2021. And they've told us things like they've raised over $500 million in equity funding, 513 million. They've received almost $60 million in grant funding, 57 million, and put $17.8 million of the personal funds in these companies. And so that's what goes in. What comes out? Well, last year they had over $11 million in product revenue, which is double the year before. 10 new products were launched. 17 patents were issued, 62 jobs were created, and of those 30 companies that responded, they have a total of 270 jobs, and 115 are in Maryland. And further, the leadership of these companies, we asked for information on that too, and 39% of the leadership of these startup companies are minorities, and 20% are women.
And that's an important focus at MII. We do focus a lot on, we have started gathering the information. We didn't gather it before because we assume the innovators that come through the MII program are reflective of the composition at the different schools. But now we are making a concerted effort to collect the data to see who applies to MII and what is that composition in terms of DEI, because that matters. Who is getting access to these funds and how are we moving those companies along? So that's a really important thing. Srini, you are one of our very first faculty entrepreneur that we funded from this campus, and we have 5 prolific campus guys. Srini has been one of the most prolific bringing the technologies through the MII program. He's a repeat offender at this event. He's gotten this award twice, the Innovator of the Year award twice. And I believe, are you nominated this year as well? Or you missed the nomination, huh? You missed the date. But Srini has a beautiful story about how he is able to navigate the transition from being a faculty to being an entrepreneurial faculty. What does that mean to you, Srini?
Okay, so first of all, let me just say this. I never thought when I joined the University of Maryland that I'd be sitting here where people are talking about me as an entrepreneur. I don't know if many of you know, in India, there are certain people, certain states which are known for entrepreneurship. I'm not from one of those states. But the reality is the following. I think my style of research, if there are two words I can use to describe my style of research, it would be simple and cheap. Okay? That works well because simple and cheap, if we make something unique in the lab, there's a chance that it actually could be useful. And I have been very fortunate. I think the other word, I gave a talk last year to my department about the same entrepreneurship. And if there is one single word I can describe as to how I got here, it is luck. But there again, okay, you have to try to get lucky.
Emma.
A second word would be MII, she says. Okay, that's good. The reality is, I think for all of us as faculty members, we are focused on academic success, publishing papers, counting citations. But I have to tell you that in 2021, we were still in the middle of the pandemic, around April of that year. I got to go to CVS, and I saw a product on the shelf that came out of my lab. How cool is that? FYI, the name of the company is not listed on the product. That's another thing I learned, but that's a different story. But in any case, I'm not sure I can be held up as an example of how to do entrepreneurship. I like to say that I can tell you the mistakes we made and how to avoid them. So if anybody wants to talk to me, I can help you on that front. And I also can say that, we always have inventions from my lab, and I'm always looking for how do I get this to the next stage. So if people want to know what we have in the lab and how you can help, I would love to talk to you.
Thank you, Srini. And Srini and I are from the same place in India, and we are not entrepreneurial. We are the nerds in the country, and we will do the bookkeeping on the back end, but we don't do the entrepreneurial stuff. So we are both unique, Srini, in that respect, to be talking entrepreneurship. But bringing it back to how you started, you had an idea. You tested the idea in the lab, and then you thought this is something that could be patented. So you brought it to the tech transfer office for disclosure. But that's pretty much where a lot of faculty members stop. They have disclosed it. They think they don't own the technology because the university owns it, and somehow that's where their journey ends. What made you take it from there, and how did Ken and his office help you take it there?
Great. So let me tell that story in a sentence or two. So we found that we could convert blood into blood. We know it flows, right? We could convert blood into a gel, okay? Meaning something kind of like the consistency of ketchup, okay? So when that happened in front of our eyes, we knew that there was something here that potentially could be valuable because, again, if you can gel blood, that's what happens when blood clotting occurs. We had that example was somewhat unique in that it was obvious where this could go to the next stage. And in those days, I must say, the other thing we had at Maryland, which I'm not sure we have now, was business plan competitions. My students decided to take part in those. And I think they won, $10,000, which is nothing. But still, it feels good for the student to win. And so that was the first step. And the next step was, as Arti mentioned, so it was MIPS and MII. So the student himself, when he was working with me, he wrote up the bulk of a proposal, which we submitted to MIPS, and we got funded. And then a couple of years later, when MII, and it was called something else at that stage, it had a different name, UTDF, there you go. So I remember writing a proposal, and I think I must say that TEDCO is one of the very few, maybe the only agency at which every proposal I've written has been successful. Normally it is, 9 out of 10 are rejected, so I'm used to that. So it's a welcome change. But seriously, let me say the following. It's really important at those early stages to have sources of support, not just funding, which are something you can get quickly. That is amazing about MII. They give you an answer within 2 months, as opposed to 1 year, which is NSF or NIH. So there's a lot to be said for you reach out to people who can support you, people who can provide you with a pathway to both funding, and again, the key word they use is non-dilutive, right? So SBIR, MII, the common theme is they will not take equity in the company that you're going to form. So that's again, an important aspect of it. But again, once you get into that system, you see how the process works. Everything gets started. So again, I think I will speak for Arti and say, I think MII is a wonderful program, and it's a program which I think more people should avail of. It is there for you, and it could really open doors and take you in a new direction.
Thank you, Srini. One correction, we do take equity. Now, after Srini's success, we were like, oh, wait a minute, our investments can give us a multi-X ROI. Then on some of the innovations, we do take equity. So we can do both non-dilutive and equity-driven investments. And that's another aspect of MI that's different, is that we do grants to the PI to de-risk the technology. And then we help with the venture creation. And once the venture is created, we do investments in the venture, either as grants, reimbursable grants based on revenue, or as equity. So we are able to move that technology further on. And oftentimes we are the first investors in the company, and that helps. Ken, do you want to say something to close out and move on to the innovation awards and how the university office has changed over the years?
Well, I'll say a little bit about the board. So the board provides strategic direction for MII, and Arti manages the review process with a series of reviewers and does that very well. And then we set the strategic direction. And a couple of things we've already touched on now are strategic priorities at MII. One is diversity. And so it's diversity with respect to gender, with demographics, but also with technology. So Maryland and MII both have very strong legacies in biotech, but emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and quantum are just coming on the scene. And so we're having to adapt a bit to that. So to diversify our portfolio along many dimensions. And the last thing I'll say is one important vote that we took this year as far as the grant funding and then the investment funding is that the board voted to increase the investment funding to $300,000 from $150,000 last year.
And I want to thank the board for doing that, because MII has matured along with the ecosystem, and now we are putting in enough amount of dollars behind the technology to make it successful. So in closing, I just wanted to go around the room and have folks that are associated with MI, site miners, reviewers, board members. If you could just raise your hand so people can identify. MI is not just myself and Ken. It's a village. It's a big village that takes care of you. There's nothing intimidating about the MI process. We take you by the hand and take you through to the commercial product launch. So if you have any questions, reach out to us, and please do talk to us, because we would love to talk to you about your ideas. Thank you.